and welcome back to Next Level World Talk Podcast with Sheldon and David. Here we are again.
Back,
David.
back at it again. Had a great week. Hopefully, everybody out there had a great week. And if you're out of school, hope it was your first week of out of school fun. So the rest of you, sorry, I'm ready to go to work.
Yeah.
But hope you had a great week no matter what was happening. Hope you had that smile on. And the last week, I hope you had a good chance to listen to last week's thing. We talked about taking time to be with other people that we love and just spending time. And that's that time when kids are home from school, families have vacation times, and we're just talking about how to just makes life better. You spend some time with some family. Make sure you do spend that time with family, friends,
With a
colleagues.
lot of parents, they feel like it's more chaotic, right? So it's more
Yes.
stressful having the kids home. So hopefully
Um,
reframing that a little bit. And,
yeah.
these are the time we spent together, our family, and that those can be important times. Cherished times
Yeah.
that you look back on, right?
hmm Exactly.
And then, so this week we're talking about, I just watched a video of the commencement address at Harvard Medical School given by a gentleman named Jonny Kim, who is a I don't know if people might have heard of him. He's a former Navy SEAL. I think he grew up in L.A. Korean dude, Korean immigrant parents. Joins the SEAL teams, does a couple tours, decides he wants to help people get better. What do you do when you're a Korean, right? You go to Harvard, Harvard Medical School, right? Oh yeah, just like So
And
underachiever,
that's enough.
classic,
There's only a seal. Only a seal. Yep.
classic underachiever, right? So Navy
Yeah.
SEAL, Harvard Medical, comes a doctor. I think he did ER stuff or whatever.
Wow.
Does some time on that, and then when you're not done underachieving, you decide to apply to be a NASA astronaut, and of course you get accepted, right? So Navy SEAL, Harvard doctor, NASA astronaut. I think he just spent 8 months at the space station and is back,
Oh
and
wow.
so he did the commencement address for the Harvard Medical School, not the undergrads, but the medical school component. So it's a smaller
Oh.
graduation
Okay.
ceremony. But it was an interesting speech. He talked about how he always wanted to be a superhero. And he didn't say it in the commencement address, but I've seen the Jocko Willink podcast. I didn't see the whole thing, but I did see part of the interview. It's like 2 hours long. I didn't watch the whole 2 hours. I kept saying I got to go back and finish it, and I haven't. I know that I haven't to this date. But when he was on that, he talked about I think his dad beat his mom. He was
Mm.
abusive. And as a young boy, he was afraid to stand up to his dad. And so he says in the Harvard
Understandable.
the commencement address, he goes, I always wanted as a child to be a superhero, So,
hmm
but he didn't say because my dad was, abusive to my mom, but he just said, I always wanted to be a superhero and be like this. So of course he joins the SEAL team, right? The ultimate superhero. I'm a superhero, right? To be strong, invincible, invulnerable, all of that kind of stuff. And he had talked about how I think he killed somebody in combat that
Mm.
might have been a civilian or something like that. He said he had to go through a whole review board and he was cleared of it, but he got emotional during the speech and you could see he was talking about that affected him. And he goes, and maybe that's why I
Wow.
overcompensated, I did this wrong. Now I need to help people and keep them alive kind of thing. So because I don't know, but that's what part of it. So he was talking about how he was messed up when he was in med school and that the Harvard faculty and fellow students, and there were people that saw that and reached out to him and just were, whether they were, and he talked about the power of empathy, being there with them and being vulnerable and allowing himself and providing a safe space for him to be vulnerable, where he was able to heal. And he
Oh
realized that
wow.
this power of repression, of stuffing things down and pushing on, and just being strong and being the solo island. Teal Swan talks about this too, that this idea of American individualism and we can do it all, you can do it
hmm
all, is damaging to our society
Yes.
because you can't.
Totally.
Nobody can do it all.
hmm
And we're humans, and humans are tribal beings, and that they need the community, right? You
Yep.
need the relationships, you need other people. And so that's what he was saying, was that in Harvard, in medical
Wow.
school, the faculty and the students helped him to to find a place where he could release some of the trauma
Oh
and some
wow.
of the shame and guilt that he had for what he had done and all this kind of stuff, and
Hmm.
come to healing. And then he goes to outer space, and he was talking about seeing the planet and how there's no borders,
Hmm.
and all that kind of stuff, and there's no lines, and a lot of astronauts have said that, right? You don't see, there's no borders, and it's very frail, and the atmosphere is tiny and very thin, and you
Hmm.
can see like this delicate planet, and he's just like, we're all one. And he said that the astronauts had a term for it. I forget what it was. It's like perspective. It's like a shifting perspective because you're
Hmm.
so detached. You're so far away from the planet. You can look at it in a holistic viewpoint. And in that perspective, you realize that, it's it's a frail, delicate thing, our Earth. He called it the spaceship we call Earth.
Yep.
It's like its own little spaceship, right? But that it's through vulnerability and empathy and connection that we find and so he was saying that his superpower that he had been seeking for his whole time was modeled by his mother, who had just passed away a month ago,
Wow.
and that his mother had this strength and always had this compassion and empathy for other people, was always kind and loving and in her strength. And so he was saying that, the superpower that I was looking for my whole life was right in front of me. It was the power of vulnerability, the power of empathy, the power of compassion, and that the idea of being the solo hero, the superhero that can stand on your own, is actually a myth. Number one, it's a myth, and it's actually harmful. Like, it's not, so it kind of goes into what we were talking about last week about relationships, right? It's just like, and spending time. How do you spend your time?
Hmm.
Connecting with your family, connecting with your loved ones, connecting with friends, whoever that is, and spending quality time with them.
Yep.
That that's so important, especially in this time. You know, um,
Well, it's as you were saying, is what he said. What was his name again?
Jonny Kim.
Johnny. Johnny. As Johnny Kim had said, I mean, it's one of those things. He talked about the faculty and the students and the people around him noticing it and pulling him out. They could have just ignored it,
Hmm.
and said, and I know I said this to Sheldon before we started. I'll give you that here in just a minute. I got to look it up. But in the days back, Sheldon, remember, men don't go and ask for help. I mean, it's just you don't do that. I mean, I'm not going to speak for women because I don't know. I wasn't in the women's role, but I know that was a no-no. And when I went through some things before, and then through the divorce, I used the school, um, not the school psychologist, but the insurance. I was for free, and I thought I only had 8 visits. By the way, every visit I never paid for a visit ever,
Yeah,
and I went for a while.
yeah.
And people were saying, no, don't tell the principal, don't go to the, don't use our insurance psychologist because then they'll know. I'm like, so, they're all paranoid,
Hmm.
conspiracy theory people think. I mean, I guess because they're saying
Oh,
don't, and people are going to know. I'm like, no, I need to reach out. And when I reached out to my principal, it was amazing what
yeah,
he did for me. And the people around you, it's okay to do that. And I think it's getting better, but it's still that stigma of like, I can do this.
yeah.
It's like, no, and it's okay not to be okay.
It's
It's
definitely
okay.
our generation, the older generation, right?
Yeah.
Has that idea, like he was saying, the solo hero myth, and this idea that you know, uh, if you need help in any way, you're weak, right? So that if you
Yeah.
need somebody else, that's a sign of weakness, not a sign of courage and strength. And in Brene Brown, we were talking about that. Brene Brown, in one of her TED talks, that she became famous, and we'll put the links to both of these things. But the Brene Brown TED talk, where she talks about vulnerability, and she talks about, to the audience, she's in a TED talk, and she's like, "Hey, when you're in the audience and you're seeing somebody upstage here, sharing their heart, sharing their wounds, sharing the
Hmm.
most difficult time of their life or whatever their experience was, and they're being extremely vulnerable. How do you see that as an audience member? And there's a guy on stage spilling their guts about traumatic thing that happened to him, you see that vulnerability as strength and courage. Like, wow, that's amazing that that guy had the courage to stand up there, man or woman, right?
Mm.
And share all of
Oh,
their vulnerable secrets and all this deep stuff. And so when you're outside perceiving it, you see somebody sharing profoundly as a
but we
sign of
don't ourselves.
courage, right? But when you have to share
Um,
your heart, what do you think? Oh, I don't want to be weak. It's a shame when I feel ashamed and all that
well,
kind of stuff. So
we're so much
understanding,
we're so much harder on ourselves than
yeah,
anybody else. Usually,
yeah, and shifting that perspective and allowing yourself
um,
to say that, hey, I may not be, you know, my sharing isn't a sign of my weakness. It's a sign of my strength and my
yeah,
courage. It takes
yeah,
courage to share so that we are willing to share because that's how you build community. That's how you build connection. That's how you strengthen and foster relationships, right? It's
hmm
in the power of sharing. And it's also in the
and
power of the other person's empathy, right? Our
yeah.
empathy, our ability to hold space and to walk in another's shoes. This is
If
how
you're
we strengthen our
yeah,
families.
if you're in that, and make you're not going to be 90% of the time you're not going to be the one on stage, but
Yep.
you got to talk about it. So you got to be able to talk about it, and that's
Yeah.
what you have your when
It
you
can
have
feel
your
like a
wolf pack.
stage, right?
Yeah, when you have your instead of go focusing on everything, have your little wolf pack. You have five, six, maybe two people. I don't know, whatever amount you have. Go talk to those individuals,
Yeah, but
either
that can feel like a
individually.
stage. That's what
Yeah,
I'm trying to
yeah,
say is
yeah.
one person, if it's that your spouse, right?
Yes. But
That
yeah,
can feel
that's
like,
what I'm getting to. Hold on, hold on.
yeah.
That's what I'm getting to.
Sorry.
So as you talk to that group, or individual or as a group, um, that is a huge hard thing for you because that's that stage of you're talking to 20,000 people. There's only one sitting in front of you because that's what our perspective is. Is
Hmm.
that you? That's the same group as that 20,000 people. Is that individual or two people that you're talking to?
Yeah.
So it's hard. We're not going to argue that. It's like that speaker that always gets up and speaks. They're nervous too. So just know that you're going to be vulnerable and you need to talk to somebody in your wolf pack and find that person that's going to listen to you with empathy.
Yeah.
That's one thing you have to be attuned to. Say, I just want to. I mean, maybe I just go talk to Sheldon. He's like, get over it, you wuss.
Yeah.
You little baby. I got to have the right person to talk to. Because
Yeah.
then if that happens, then I'm not going to talk to people again.
Yep.
Because like, well, see,
Yep.
I'm weak. But yet 2 weeks later, I go to a speaker and I'm like, wow, he's really, gosh, he's so strong. It's like, well, wait, you just did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
It's like you can do this. So yeah, so yes, you talking to that one person is like talking to when I went to talk to my principal, okay, about what I was going through. That was going to an audience.
Yeah.
I'm going like, oh my god, I'm talking to my principal, but he needed to know what I was going through and the empathy that he had and the care from that point forward was like, wow, that was a whole eye opener for me. And he came in every other day, checked on me, made
What a
sure I was
beautiful
okay.
thing that was, right? You
Yeah,
think
and
about
it's
that.
just and you go back listen to some of those talks
Yep.
before.
Yep.
So just know that when you do open up, it hurts. It's vulnerable of where
It
you
can be
are.
scary. It can be
Yes,
scary.
it is, and that's where you got to
Vulnerability
find
is
that person
scary.
you can really talk to.
Yeah.
I
And
mean, I have
you're, yeah,
I have a fair
exercise
few.
discernment. Yeah. You don't
Hmm
necessarily, open up to everybody, right? You have to be
Exactly.
discerning about
hmm
um,
I
who,
have a lot of friends, and we all
Mhm.
know that. But I'm not going to go tell them all. There's certain
Yep.
ones I'm like, I'm going to tell that one.
Yep.
I'm not going to tell that one about
Yep.
this. I mean, some people I can tell certain things. Some people I can tell other things.
Hmm.
So you have to be in tune where you are and who they are
Yeah.
at the same time. But
Yep.
be willing, as we've said many times before our podcast, is vulnerability. You got to be
Yep.
vulnerable. It's
Yep.
hard.
Yep.
I mean, like that dog that rolls over on his back, total vulnerability. It's like,
Yep.
okay, I'm safe.
Yep.
Um, Understand, you find that safe space and
Yeah.
make sure you do that and um,
And
be willing to
take the
open
time to
up.
cultivate that, right? And to
Hmm
open up and to take the risk because it can feel like a risk at first, right? So maybe you have a friend and you guys just hang out and shoot pool and drink beer, you know what I mean? And you never go very deep or whatever. And,
hmm
you can do that in stages. Hey, man,
Yeah,
blah, 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 or whatever. You can open up, really hurt when this happened to me the other day and blah, blah, blah. And then see how they respond. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
maybe they're like, oh, wow, man, that's cool. And it can feel like a risk. You don't have to, share your deepest,
yeah,
darkest thing all at once, but taking the risk will
hmm
enrich your life.
yeah,
When you're doing it with the right person, the only thing that can happen is, when you're doing it with the right person, you have the right that person. It will
Hmm.
strengthen and deepen your relationship with that person.
Yes, totally.
And it'll bring a
And
deeper sense of peace and happiness to yourself, right? So,
yes, because you have someone you can reach out to instead of sitting alone.
yeah,
Um, and like we've talked about many times on this, the reason we do this podcast, one of them is just to help you find peace, but to know that you're not alone.
yeah,
Okay, because there's so many different things people are going through. Some of the guests we've had have said sort of like, "Wow, never
hmm
heard that."
yep,
Well, Sheldon and I can't talk about some things because we haven't been down those roads,
hmm
but others have a different road. So be willing to reach out because someone may be able to help you.
hmm
Um, like Sheldon's case, Sheldon came to me about drug stuff. I can't give him answers. I don't know, but I can talk to them and I can find people that give him answers. So know that, okay? Or Sheldon goes to one of his buddies that's gone through, the drug stuff. And they can have that conversation. Because I'd be like, I don't know.
yep.
I want to hear the story because they're kind of cool. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. The
But
drug stories
well,
aren't cool, but they're cool. You know what I mean?
you can practice empathy, right? But
Yes.
there's a certain level of connection for shared
Hmm.
experiences that have walked down the same path, right?
Yeah.
There's a more profound level of empathy somebody can have when they've walked the same path you have, and that's part
Yeah.
of why we have guests, right? Everybody's got their
Hmm.
different paths, and they've all been down
Yeah.
different roads, and there's
And
different journeys we've all been on, and
yeah.
those things can all share, provide
Yeah.
space for somebody.
Yeah, and yeah, what and I caught myself now. I'm not saying don't talk to someone that doesn't hasn't been down the same road, because
Hmm.
that person, like, I go talk to someone, maybe they haven't gone through what I'm going through, but they can just talk through it.
Yep.
I when I was going through the divorce, talked to several people.
Hmm.
By the way, two people that I talked to were married,
Hmm.
loving, married people, and they walked me through it. They helped me through it. I had friends that were single, friends that were divorced. But these two walked me through it just as a friend.
Hmm.
I mean, they couldn't empathize with me.
Yeah.
But guess what? Years later, they both wound up in divorce. Hopefully, it wasn't because of what I said. No, it wasn't. It was because of the relationship. It was already there. But I didn't go to them because they'd been through divorce. I went to them because they were friends, and I could be vulnerable with them.
Hmm.
And they had the expertise to talk. And then eventually, I had the expertise to talk to them of what I went through.
And
So,
who knows? Maybe your vulnerability and your courage in facing, what happened, gave them the courage to face what
mm,
they had.
good point.
You know what I mean?
Never thought about that.
You know what I mean? They're like, hey, you know what? He made it through, and he did this, and blah blah blah, and it wasn't easy, but he did it, and maybe I need to do the same thing because
Yeah.
those things
Oh,
happen, right? We never know.
we
Uh,
don't know.
we never know. You can put it in a spiritual way and say you can never know what God's plan is, right? That's one way
Hmm.
of saying that, right? You can just never know your capacity to influence and impact people, And so one of the things it's not what you do, it's who you are.
Hmm.
It's not what you do in
Yeah.
this world, it's who you are as you do that. Like, who are you?
Yeah.
What are you bringing? Your essence, your light, if you want to say, right? It's like, you know, bringing the best version of you, the most loving and compassionate and vulnerable and open, empathetic version of yourself
Hmm.
to the world. We need more of that. So,
Yeah. And I'm going to give you a little quote that I saw. It must be at a Starbucks store because there's a fake Starbucks cup next to it. But it says, kind of funny. But I don't care about that part. I care about what it says. Today, you could be standing next to someone who is trying their best not to fall apart. Whatever you do today, do it with kindness in your heart. It doesn't mean you have to go out there and,
yeah.
oh, God, that person's having a problem. I'm going to talk to him and help him out. No, you just saying, hey, how you doing today? Hi, hello.
Yep.
I remember one time, I'll never forget this moment. I was at a bagel shop. I was divorced, and me get to know people. Go figure. There was an older couple sitting at the. I was sat at one table, and I sat at the table next to them. Spoke. Sparked up conversations now and then. How you doing? What you doing? And one day, she was there, but he wasn't. The husband wasn't there, and so we were just talking. I said, "Hey, how you doing? How you doing?" And she seemed kind of off, and then like something dropped in the kitchen, like a silverware, made a lot of noise, and she freaked really bad. And I kind of grabbed her arm. Are you okay? And she was, I'm just, she started crying. She was, I'm just having a bad day. I'm having a hard day. And she was like, I'm stressed. And I go, can we pray? And she goes, yes, would you please? And we prayed. And she told me her husband was sick in the hospital. She didn't know what to do. And I go, you're going to be fine. I go, just, it's okay. And I was just like, I remember me just taking that moment, seeing her going like, whoa, you know, wait a minute, what's wrong? You okay? I could have said, like, God dang, lady, what's her freaking problem? I could have just, get over it, lady.
Or
But
like
no, you have
90% of us never even said hi,
yes.
never even got to know them. Or it's just hi and kept walking, never sat and chat. You know what I mean? That's,
Yeah. So those little things, I don't know what I did. I
yep.
mean, obviously it seemed to help her that day. And I did see him later, saw him and her, not that day, but, down
Yeah.
the road. And so you never know.
Yeah.
I mean, what you're going to do, what little things you're going to say or do, are going to help somebody. Just
Yeah.
that little, wow, okay, today is going to be good because they said hello to me. They smiled at me,
Yep.
and so you never know,
Is
small
that
gestures.
that dream my mom my mom had where she got to see the impact
Oh, I would love
of
to.
of every kind act that she did and how that impacted the person. Like, in her dream, she could see how much you might have changed that woman's day, week, month, her life.
Mm-hmm.
You might, you know what I mean? That just that
Yep.
interaction. Wow, somebody cared enough to stop and give me a prayer. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And what impact that had on that person. That you didn't get to know, you didn't get to
Because
see.
you don't
So
know.
yeah, so she
Yeah.
got to see that in
Which is
her
awesome.
dream. So it's
Yeah.
amazing. But I always think about that. Again, it's not what you do. It's not what you do in the world in terms of your job. It's who you are. Who you are, your essence of your heart that
Mm-hmm.
you bring into whatever you're doing, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes you can do that as simply as just saying a quiet prayer for that person, right? If you don't
Yeah.
want to sit there and walk up and you're not as
Exactly.
outgoing as David, you could just sit there and send some love and prayer to that person.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There's a story about a woman who was in a traffic jam, and there was a major car accident, like 10 cars ahead of her, and so all these cars are stopped, and people are honking, and they're all getting pissed off. And this woman was like a Reiki healer therapist. Reiki's that energy healing, and
Mm-hmm.
so she starts sending like Reiki, loving energy to the cars, just
Mm-hmm.
saying, "Hey, blessings. Obviously, it's a bad accident. Hope everybody's okay." And what happened was the woman in one of the cars had died, and she went out of body, and she could see the energy, and she could see this light of loving prayer going to her from this
Mm-hmm.
stranger. And she went down out of body, saw the car, saw the woman, saw the license plate. So she knew who the person was, knew the license plate, and then she comes back into her body and can remember all of that stuff, and was
Mm-hmm.
somehow able to look up the license plate and figure it out or whatever, and go to the person and say, "I wanted to thank you for being there. I was the one who was dead in that thing." When I was up and above the scene, all I saw was anger and frustration and irritation, and the only thing
Oh
I saw
wow.
was this beautiful, loving light coming from you to me, and it helped bring me back into my body and whatever.
Oh wow. That's crazy.
It's super crazy. You're like, all right, is that real? But you know,
Your
um,
energy shows your energy,
yeah,
and like if you're just sitting next to someone, you can tell they're having an issue. Your positive energy is going to help that person.
yep,
You
yep,
know, and it's like I always have an issue with when uh, not like parents in the grocery store or something, and someone's upset that gosh, their kids are always loud and this and that. It's like they're kids. Get over it. Go to another aisle if you have a problem.
yep,
It's like the children. It's like your negative energy is not helping.
yep,
You know, it's just like let it be like, oh, I mean, I sit there and kind of I laugh and feel good. It's like, yeah, seen that, been there.
yep,
Sorry, good luck. Not don't say that, but going like, hey, there's the kid. It's a kid. It's
yep,
okay. So it's how you deal with the situation and how you come across
yep,
too.
yep.
But always be vulnerable. I mean, not
Be
too much.
willing to be and open to it,
Yeah,
and
find
and
find your wolf pack, find
yep,
your people, um, and find and know who you can be vulnerable with.
yeah,
And on the other side, be willing to listen to those that are vulnerable.
100%.
And again, it's do you want me to listen? Do you just listen? Do you want me to listen and help, or you want me to correct it and fix it for you?
Fix, yeah, yeah,
So you gotta, and maybe in that conversation, you like if I'm talking to Sheldon, say, Sheldon, I see you listen to me. He's just going to sit back. He knows his role.
Yeah.
Hey, I need help fixing this. I don't know how to fix this. Oh, so now he's listening and writing notes, maybe to plan on, hey, here's how we're going to fix this. I'm going to help you.
Yeah.
I can't do it, but I know somebody who can help you.
Yep.
You know, so always be on both sides, be vulnerable and be willing to be with someone who's vulnerable
Yeah.
in that moment.
Yep.
So that's a big thing about life. And I will tell you two sides. One, if you are the vulnerable one, you'll learn so much and get so much out of it at the end. You'll be so relieved of that stress, that worry, that it's like, oh, I'm
Shame,
free of
guilt.
this. Yeah, the shame, guilt. And then if you're the one willing to listen, how much you'll feel in your world about, hey, I'm willing to help, listen to, be a part of this person's life. You know,
Yep.
you're both going to get. It's a win-win. So
Yep. 100%.
yeah.
So I think that's
So
it, right? We'll
yeah,
call it another
pretty good.
short one.
I
A
mean, the
wrap.
only thing to talk about is like, um, think about that when someone's on stage, you're thinking, wow, they're being so vulnerable, so strong. And when you start doing it, it's like, God, I'm so weak. No, wait a minute. I keep saying that person's strong. So
Yep.
on stage or by yourself, they're still strong.
Yep.
So
The
don't
courage
worry
and the
about being
strength of
vulnerable.
being
Courage.
vulnerable and
Exactly.
loving
So
compassion or empathy, the ability
yeah,
to hold space for somebody, and
yep.
make that a little bit of a practice.
Yeah,
We're-
sharing's not weak, it's
yep.
strength.
Yep.
It is strength. So yep. So we're gonna go with that. That's the homework
Take that
already.
one. Take that one to the bank and give it a whirl for the week. And,
Exactly, man. So we hope you all have a great week out there. Hope you have first off some time with family and friends and colleagues, whatever, and
yeah,
make it a great one. And then, hey, make your aura, make
yeah,
you, okay, a great place to be around.
yeah.
So keep that smile on.
Keep that smile on, guys. Love you. Thanks for listening.